Hi, everyone. My name is Suzette Lawrence, and I wanted to share some information that I've been researching on bone quality. It's a little different than bone density, and I've prepared a PowerPoint, which I'm going to share with you now. So bear with me for 1 second while I pull up the PowerPoint and we get rolling. So let's see. We're going to do our slideshow, and we want to okay, bone health. So we're going to talk about density versus quality. Up until now, we've heard a lot about bone density, but we're not hearing much about bone quality. So let's start with the function of our bones. Red blood cells are produced there, stem cells for body repair. All of the immature cells in the body first start as stem cells in the bone. And then they're distributed throughout the body, and they can repair anything. They can repair brain cells. They can repair cells in your eyeballs, in your joints, in your skin, in your kidneys, in your liver. That's what stem cells do. Very important function. Bones work with muscles to provide structure to the body. Bones, joints, and muscles tend to lose function simultaneously. And like body fat, bones also store environmental pollutants and toxic metals. Some of the doctors when I was doing this research, I looked at the integrative medicine doctors, the holistic medicine doctors, and the allopathic medicine doctors. And what was very interesting was that there were cases of dementia that were related to bone loss because there's so much toxic over a lifetime, so many toxic metals that can be stored in bone. Bone density is just the mineral density of the bone. So it's the specific composition of calcium and phosphorus, something we call hydroxyapatite. That's how it's described. And hydroxyapatite is held in the collagen matrix of the bone. So bone, like every other tissue of the body, is made with collagen. The go-to drug have been bisphosphonates, and this was 2011, so now it's been 50 years since they've been using these, and of course they're not a very good choice because after about 5 years the bones are so fragile and so dehydrated that they just break like glass. Prolotherapy is another treatment that's given. It's an injection. But the problem there is, in this study anyway, and they looked at a lot of different outcomes, the placebo worked as well as the injection. So there was no statistical significance, and that's what you really, in science, you rely on. Statistical significance tells you that you have a good shot at, you have like a 9 out of 10 chance or a 50% chance or something along those lines. And in this study, they couldn't determine that. Bone quality is the flexibility of your bone. So if bone density is about how rigid your bones are and what their mineral content is, bone quality is about how flexible they are, that rubber-like quality that healthy bones have. And that's because 50% of bone is the collagen HA matrix. Notice I didn't just say collagen, it's collagen, chondroitin sulfate, and hyaluronic acid. I have a video on our brand that is the premium brand and the only brand that includes the entire matrix. There are many like collagen products out there, but they don't include the collagen matrix. And without the matrix, you're not going to get the full benefit. So bone quality refers again to that flexible rubber-like quality that collagen imparts on bone. And it allows the bone to compress. It allows a bone to twist. So when you put your arm up and you turn, your bone actually twists too. When you stretch, the bones stretch. And when you bend, the bones should bend. And they're able to do that when we have the collagen in the bone that we need. So in 2011, our brand won the Frost & Sullivan Award. They're a market research company. We don't advertise or anything like that. But they recognized our brand as a North America Bone and Joint Health Ingredient Customer Value Enhancement of the Year Award. Quite a big mouthful, but are really, we're very proud of that. And it was the first time that I really looked into this, bone quality as being an issue in healthy aging. 10% of our bones are in the remodeling state. That's called resorption. So at any given time, our bone is constantly breaking down and building up. And when it's building up bone, new bone cells, those are called osteoblasts. And when they're tearing down old bones, those are called osteoclasts. So when we're breaking down more than we're building up, we get into a bone deficit. And this is where we start getting into trouble. So, and as I mentioned earlier, bones, muscles, and joints tend to function simultaneously. So if you have trouble in your joints, you probably are having trouble in your muscles. Your muscles are losing shape and tone and strength, and your bones maybe as well. The problem, of course, with bones is it's often a late stage sign, because things like DEXA scans, typically they compare you to the average person, right? That's over 30, over 30 and over 60 in, the person in your age group, but it's not compared to you. So if you got a DEXA scan when you were 30, you could compare at 60, you could compare it to where you were at 30, right? And get a feeling of where you are. But you can look in the mirror and see, are you shrinking? That's the number one thing. Are you able to maintain your posture, and are you shrinking? If you're shorter, chances are you're losing bones and you're simply dehydrating. So bones are primarily made of collagen and hydroxyapatite, as I mentioned. And you can see in this graphic, we have the cortical bone, which is the outside of the bone. This is a femur, thigh bone. And this cortical bone is very, very hard, and it has a very high mineral to collagen matrix ratio. So mostly hard mineral, the hydroxyapatite out here, and some collagen mixed in. The trabecular bone, which is on the inside of the bone and fills up the joint part of the bone, right? Where the joint is fitting into the pelvis or into the knee. That, of course, is trabecular bone. And that kind of bone is soft and spongy so that it can compress when we get up to walk, or we lift something, or we run, and we have that compression. We don't want that to fracture. We want it to be able to be spongy and be able to compress and then recollect. So very important. So all of these functions of bone are what we count on. The vertebra also has a very similar microarchitecture. Again, you have hard bone on the outside, the cortical bone, and then the soft trabecular bone on the inside. And again, that collagen, you can appreciate in the spine, right? The spine is carrying the average head, I think, weighs 17 pounds. So our neck is carrying 17 pounds of weight all day long. So there's a lot of pressure on the spine, and the necessity of the spine to be able to compress and then rehydrate, very, very important. So the spine has to be able to withstand weight bearing, stretching, jarring, bending without fracturing. The reason this, of course, becomes problematic for many of us with age is because we're losing collagen. And this is a beautiful graphic of the collagen timeline. And you see, by the time we're in our 40s, we're starting to lose it, even in our 30s, really. But in our 40s, we're starting to notice the fine lines. By our 50s, we might be a little stiff and sore. By 60, things are happening. We're really noticing it in our skin, in our eyeballs. Our hair might be thinning, the nails get thinner. And bones, joints, and muscles may not be as they once were. Everyone's a little different. But if this is an issue for you, you're going to want to pay attention to this. We have a new generation of collagen. Again, I mentioned the collagen matrix, and that is the chondroitin, the collagen, and the hyaluronic acid. And we'll look at each of those as we go through this. But as you look at this knee, you can see how this spongy bone, how a healthy spongy bone looks. And we have the actual joint here, the cartilage covering the ends of the bone. And a lot of times a doctor will tell you that you have bone on bone. That means that this piece of cartilage is so thinned out. Okay, if you haven't had it surgically removed, it's still there. It's just so thin and so dehydrated. It's like one of those sponges you get at the county fair that haven't put in water yet. And then you rehydrate it and it comes back. So we see that with our product, which is pretty amazing. Here you see in between. So this is a schematic. If you cut through what you'd see, and this, of course, is the menisci. It's the only joint besides this vertebra that have like a disc-like function to help protect, to keep us mobile and to keep those joints functioning and gliding. So the synovium is the fluid that is manufactured by the chondrocytes, by the cartilage cells that actually make the liquid that gives the joint its slip so that you can move without discomfort. So as we're aging, the reason that we're losing the HA, the joint function and that liquid and that natural lubricant is because we're actually making an enzyme called hyaluronidase that breaks it down. That's why our skin ages. It's why we get dehydrated. And we see here where how we can reduce. There's a real negative feedback system that if I have a high level of hyaluronidase and I start dosing with high levels of our liquid collagen HA matrix, that I can drop that hyaluronidase level down. And so that the part of the problem is now going to be ameliorated because I'm not breaking down the collagen that I have left. I'm not robbing the collagen matrix that I have left of the hyaluronic acid component. And that's why some people, that start, depending on where they are in their journey, will start on double serving sizes. And they may do that for 3 months, 6 months, till they get, literally back on their feet. And then they're good at single serving sizes. Happens all the time. In human clinical trials, we saw a 6,000% increase in HA. And this was just over 28 days. Now that result, that's let me go back here. This was a 60-fold increase, right? 6,000%. And this started on day 0. And this is 4 weeks. And this is the amount of hyaluronic acid, which is what we tagged. It's the easiest thing to check in plasma. So, and because the HA, the chondroitin, and the collagen are together, we know that if we have the HA, we've got them all, right? And in fact, that was the case. So we could increase the plasma levels 60-fold over the first month. And that's why a lot of people that start drinking our liquid collagen will notice that their discomfort starts to ameliorate. And that's because they're now, lubricated, literally lubricated. The body is 60% water. And look at bones, 22% water. Our liver, 86% water. So when we're drinking this, drinking our HA, what HA does is it moves the hyaluronic acid component in our collagen, moves water that you're drinking into the cell, into the joint, into the muscle. So, and that's really, really important. In the same way that insulin carries sugar into a cell and gives it the nutrition that it needs, because that's what our body runs on, right? Glucose. That same type of system is used to carry water into the cell so that the body can now start making more HA. So not only are we able to supplement by drinking our hyaluronic acid in our chondroitin and collagen matrix, but we're also able to get our body to start making more of it. Collagen derivatives, this study was done in 2020, so 10 years after our research, and it showed that, in fact, yes, they work. Everybody got help that took a collagen derivative. And that was done in Asia, where they use a lot of collagen. So resolved osteopenia and osteoporosis, this is my good friend, and her face had started to collapse. She was having a lot of health challenges, not doing very well. And this was over 12 months in 2014, and it just changed her life. I mean, she got the structure of her face came back and really changed things for her. She was the first person I knew that had osteoporosis and osteopenia who called me a year later and said, I don't have this anymore. The doctor just did a repeat DEXA scan and it's gone. She couldn't believe it. They double checked to make sure it was me, and they wanted to do another scan, and which she didn't do because of the radiation. But she told him, she goes, oh no, that's me. I'm not, yeah, I'm better. Habits that contribute to bone loss are smoking. We know about that, right? Smoking degrades collagen. Drinking alcohol, animal products, dairy. Man, guys, milk does not do a body good. Dairy actually is considered a bone dissolving food. Milk, cheese, all of the dairy products, yogurt, yep. Processed foods that are high in salt, oils, flours, sugars, packaged foods, all create acidity in the body. And the problem there is that when you have the body operates, the blood has to maintain a pH of 7.35 to 7.45. And when it goes higher, when it goes lower than 7.35, that means it's getting very acid in the body. The body will pull calcium as a buffering agent out of muscle and bone. So you want to be, that's the game that a lot of us are playing. When we're drinking or eating animal products, we create that acid environment in the body, and the body self-corrects. Because of course, if it doesn't, if you go get too alkaline or too acid, the heart stops. So, the body does everything. It pulls no punches in keeping that pH balance right where it needs to be. So goal one, and I'm just going to run through these quickly because we don't have a lot of time, but I want to keep this to 30 minutes. Goal one is to stop bone and muscle loss. Okay, so increase your plants and reduce your and eliminate bone dissolving habits. So the primary cause of bone loss is inflammation. There's actually in holistic medicine or lifestyle medicine, as it's called now, inflam aging. It's a new word, and it really contributes by having that high acid diet. It creates a lot of inflammation in the body, and it accelerates aging. Arthritis, RA, heart disease, diabetes 1 and 2, stress, and a sedentary lifestyle. They call it sitting all day. It's like the smoking of in the old days, just as damaging to the body. The new smoking is how one of the doctors referred to it. And I got this from this paper out of Clinical Calcium. There's actually a journal. Restoring the calcium balance, food has an immediate impact on overall health, including bones and muscles. So when you eat a calcium-rich meal, your bones, your body is going to benefit immediately. If you're supplementing, you don't want to take more than 1,000 milligrams a day. You can get this from food, and you can get this, hopefully you can get most of this from food. You may want to add a little additional because of the issues surrounding calcium deficit, but you don't want too much either, because we get calcification of soft tissues, like your blood vessels get gunked up with calcium. That's a real problem. Kidney stones, really big problem. So we don't want to go overboard on the calcium supplements. So the plants are going to be your best bet. Lots of fruits, vegetables, legumes, chia seeds, flax seeds, nori, are all rich in omega-3 as well. Nuts and whole grains all are very rich in all of the bone building nutrients. Almonds, 22 almonds will give you 8% of the calcium you need. And the fat in this is not going to be as high as you think because of the fiber. The fiber will reduce the amount of fat you absorb. Seeds are a great source of calcium. Poppy seeds have 126 grams of calcium in just 1 tablespoon. Beans, lentils are very high. They also have the potassium, the magnesium, the iron, the folate, the zinc. These are the cofactors, that are in foods, which always make the food preferential to the supplement. Leafy greens, you can't get enough of them. We go through 2 pounds of spinach here every week, and we add it to everything. Every pasta sauce gets spinach, stews get spinach. We add spinach to our beans, and because we're big lovers of bean dishes, and it just dissolves. You don't even really see it in there. What's the best form to take of calcium if you are going to take a supplement? Calcium carbonate and citrate. Citrate is going to dissolve. Carbonate supplements dissolve better in an acid environment. So take the calcium carbonate with a meal, and calcium citrate is better if you're more alkaline. So if you're not a meat eater, you can take carbonate, or you can take calcium citrate. If you're a meat eater, definitely take calcium carbonate. Other supplements, my liquid collagen, of course, is the premium thing you can do for your bones. Vitamin D3, you can take up to 5,000 international units a day. Check with your doctor. He should be checking that. The one common denominator in people that die when they get admitted to the ICU is their vitamin D level. Many of them have like no vitamin D3. So check with your doctor. There are a couple conditions. I know with thyroid issues, you have to be careful about vitamin D. So, check with your doctor about where your D3 level is and get on a program to beef that up. Vitamin K2 is critical, especially if you've had heart disease or you've had some blood pressure issues, anything like that. You want to be on K2. It's normally made by the gut microbiome, but since most people don't eat enough fiber to support things like the production of vitamin K2, you want to supplement with it. It's very relatively inexpensive supplement, and it's fat soluble. So you just take 1 a day. And then we talked about the calcium carbonate, the citrate, and there are also ancient seabed minerals that are very helpful. In our research, we saw that we did a research study with a group of people that had mild to moderate joint discomfort, and 9 out of 10 of them got at least 40% better in just the first 8 weeks, many of whom went on to get complete restoration of their joint function, which is really wonderful. So my oldest customer is 94, and this works in everyone, and that's because it has a p-value, or a statistical significance of 0.19. So this is a very good fundamental thing to do. Most of the people that I work with are meat eaters. So many of them will start on, even a little meat makes a difference. So just because you just eat fish or just eat cheese doesn't matter. If you're eating any kind of animal product, you might want to, and you have a severe issue, you might want to consider double serving sizes. The role of blood supply to bone is very important, just like every other organ system in the body that gets gunked up with calcium and fat, the bone blood vessels do as well. So let's take a look at this from the perspective of joint function and looking at synovial fluid. Synovial fluid is the fluid in the joint that keeps everything gliding. Okay, and it is made right in the synovial membrane, right in the joint. This is an example of a normal joint. You see how the blood vessels are going into the joint capsule. But here, this is something called avascular necrosis. And you see that the blood vessel is not quite getting there. And when that blood supply is cut off, this could be from an accident, some kind of trauma. It could be just clogged from a dietary factor. This is a problem. and this is where we can get into real issues. So we want to make sure that we have really healthy blood supply to the joints. It's one of the issues we have to consider when you're looking at your timeline for recovery and what kind of lifestyle changes you're going to make. The liquid collagen HA speeds muscle repair and reduces muscle tenderness and reduces systemic inflammation. So inflammation throughout the body, and that's measured by something called C-reactive protein. In this study of powerlifters who took 3 tablespoons a day, that's 1.5 times the normal serving, they reduced their C-reactive protein, that system-wide marker of inflammation, by tenfold. That's a huge, huge drop, guys. Remember, inflammation, it's reduced dramatically with this. LDH was reduced dramatically, and creatinine kinase was reduced as well. You can see these numbers in the placebo group and in our collagen group. So C-reactive protein, again, is a serum marker for inflammation. When muscles get damaged, creatinine kinase is released. And when muscles are sore after exercise, you get the lactate dehydrogenase is released. These are things that you would have, like the CK and C-reactive protein are things a doctor would look at if you had a heart attack. Does exercise help? Because we're looking at lifestyle here too. Does exercise help? And of course, the answer is yes. The more we exercise, the better, and especially when we're as we're supplementing with our collagen and we're getting some relief and we're able to slowly build up to walking. You know, maybe you start walking 5 minutes to the corner and 5 minutes back. You do a little warm up, then you go for 5 minutes back, and then add a minute every day, you know, and see what you can do to get moving, because it's going to make a big difference in the quality of your muscles, your bones, and your joints. You're going to see conditioning there that you haven't seen in a while. Does weight bearing help reduce bone loss as you age? And yes, it does. There are so many studies on this. You want to exercise depending on, now, if you have a diagnosis that you have osteoporosis, you cannot lift more than 25 pounds. And you want to be sure that you're starting slow and working up to sometimes, you know, like even 30 minutes 5 times a week is beneficial, but 45 to an hour is even better. Again, I mentioned that about not lifting too much weight. And yes, walking does increase bone density. We're going for progress, not perfection. This is not the kind of program that a lot of people, you know, life is an application process, right? Not just a knowledge process. So when I learn about this stuff, I just make the shift. I don't, you know, I'm 65. I don't have time to mess around with when I feel like it or tomorrow. I've been down that road. I make the shift now. So, but pick the things. I say, pick something hard. If it's hard for you to make changes, pick something hard and pick something easy, and then just move forward on that. That is my talk, guys. And I think I did it in a reasonably short amount of time. I want to thank you for joining me. I'm going to post this all over the place, so you get a chance to watch it. Again, thank you so much. I'm Suzette. If you have any questions, write them in the chat or message me. I'll be happy to answer them directly. Okay, take care, guys. Bye.